You can't help but bounce your head, right?
Yeah.
Gerren,
The nice
good Monday morning. Good Monday morning, everybody. I am excited to be here to kick off your week. Welcome to No More Mondays, the show where we believe that humans still matter, mediocrity is expensive, and ownership changes everything. As always, I am your host, Angie Callen, and today's conversation is about something that shows up for a lot of us at various points in our lives: feeling stuck. And usually that stuck feeling isn't because we're capable or lack skills. It is because there is something deeper getting in the way. Today, I am joined by Gerren Power, founder of Power Consulting. How convenient to have the last name Power when you're in coaching and consulting, where he works with leaders and students to break through mental barriers, reconnect with purpose, and improve how they show up in their lives and in work. His work combines mental performance, emotional intelligence, and leadership development, which should already tell you why he's here. Three things that are music to my ears. And he uses that combination to help us understand what's holding us back and start to make changes to push through it. So today, we're going to dig into why we high achievers still get stuck, what's really behind those performance plateaus, and how we can reconnect with our purpose to change everything. Gerren, welcome to No More Mondays.
Thanks for having me.
I have been super excited since, we crossed paths, for those of you that are regular listeners, at the Unconference. I always like to tell everybody that, Gerren, because I have these little groups of guests and listeners who know regularly, like, oh my gosh, I love everybody from the thing, or I love everybody from the Unconference. So, Mom, here's another one. And I want to start with the mental barriers thing, because I think this is more important than people realize or recognize.
Yes.
And a lot of people assume they're stuck because they just don't have the special sauce. But reality is that isn't often the problem. So when you talk about mental barriers, what are you actually seeing in people when it comes to them being stuck?
Most, if not all the time, what ends up happening is people have preconceived notions in their mind already. And it could be from a childhood, middle-life crisis, what they think they're going to be, whatever the case is. It's always I always say most people create hypothetical scenarios and live in that reality. And so what happens is that they're living in this realm and they just believe that's the way it's so supposed to be. It's almost as if, like, you ever been around like really like celebrities, like you awe celebrities and you're all super rich people, and then you meet them and you have a conversation and you realize, oh, they're just a regular person.
Yep.
Like everybody else. And so sometimes when you help people get past those barriers, then they unlock the potential that's really in them. So that's kind of where I help people focus towards.
Oh, so in a way, we could think about this mental barrier being, at least in part, that belief system that we build and or we're handed throughout life. And a lot of times we don't ever stop and evaluate whether or not that belief system serves us. And if it doesn't serve us, it can become a mental barrier or like a self-imposed limitation in a way.
It very much is. And I would say it serves you at the level you're at.
Ooh, tell us more about that.
And so what happens is we decide what level we want to stay on. And we will create scenarios to stay on that level. So in essence, you've probably heard it before, where people will say, oh, that's too hard. Is it? Or is it the thing you're not willing to put the work in? Because anything we want to put the work in, hard is secondary. It becomes irrelevant. And people don't realize hard is part of the process, because we all need hard in our life to grow.
And comfort doesn't happen. Growth doesn't happen in the comfort zone. It is cliche, and it's cliche for a reason.
Exactly. And it's almost as if, like, if you ever play video games, I'm going to use a good example. If you ever play video games, as much fun as easy mode is, if it was always on easy mode, we would get bored and never play the game. So we would need to be challenged in some way, shape, or form. So sometimes super hard is not something we're not ready for, but we go mid-level. And then when we get comfortable with mid-level, then we push it up, because we're like, you know what? I might lose, but I'm being challenged in so many different ways. And it's the challenge that gets us better over time, because now we're creating new mental stimulus in our mind to push past that boundary. And so that's usually what happens.
And so it's not like this idea of like feast or famine, right? We don't have to go from crawl to sprint or running a marathon. There are different stages of, stand up and hold yourself up and then walk, and you can work yourself towards different levels of like pushing comfort. But I'm curious, when we think about high performers specifically, why do we fall into this pattern so often?
Because we it's no different than the people that are in the mediocre level, because once you get to where you see yourself being, you're good. You're like, I've arrived. But really the arrival is the starting point. And so if we always stay at the starting, if we're always thinking of that's just the next level we got to get to, then we will say, okay, there's another level after we master the level we're on, there's another level we need to go to. And people don't think about it. So when we think of our dream and all that stuff, like I remember when I'm gonna say my age, back in when I was 16, is like some years ago, 34 years ago. I remember saying, I want to make 40,000 a year. And then when I turned 21, I made 40,000 a year. And I'm like, wait, it's not much I thought it was. And then I thought, how high can I go? And so I looked for patterns and ways. How can I make more money? How can I make more money? And so I got into a career that allowed me to exponentially grow. And I used the vision of, okay, now I want to make $100,000. And then I got to $100,000 and I was like, oh, that's awesome. But then the work I was doing wasn't satisfying me. So I was like, okay, I reached my goal of $100,000. I'm making over $100,000, but what I'm doing is not satisfying. So now I'm bored at work. And I'm just going through the motions, and now I'm looking at, okay, I reached my goal, but this is not it. So then it's like, what do I need to do? I need to go out and do something else. I need to start a business. And I always say the best way to get over that hypothetical hurdle is create a new vision. And vision simplifies everything. Vision tells you what you should do and what you shouldn't do. It tells you where to go and where not to go. And the more you focus on your vision, the more things you put to the side, and you create less distractions, and you create more focus and clarity. And so oftentimes when I talk to people, their roadblock is just the self-imposed hypothetical vision they put in themselves. Yeah. And high achievers do the same thing. We got to our point, okay, then we don't think about what's next. Now we're just doing it for years, and we're like, wow, 5 years went by and we're doing the same thing. Is there more? And then you start looking at what's more. So now, and oftentimes more than not, if we're in the right rooms, we'll tend to see someone doing something that resonates with us, and you'll say, I want to do that. Now you created a whole new stimulant to not say like, I can't do that. How can I do that? And when you start asking yourself, how can I do that? Now your brain goes into a new mode to try to figure out ways to get there. And you have to be okay with the hard, because the hard is where the struggle comes in, and the frustration and the irritation and all these things. That's all part of the process to get to that stage you want to, because when you get there, you become the person you're supposed to be when you get there.
So Gerren just mic dropped this entire episode in like 3.5 minutes. So you might want to rewind and listen to that again. But to get your money's worth, we're going to keep talking, because there's a couple things in there I want to highlight and tease out.
Okay.
Just yesterday, I was talking to a group of people about the concept of easy choices, hard life, easy choices. And to me, that is why I start the podcast with my creed, which is humans still matter. Mediocrity is expensive. Ownership changes everything. Mediocrity is expensive because of what we're talking about here. It costs you not money, but fulfillment and regret. Because if you wait too long to get to the point of, wait, I was working towards an arbitrary salary number thinking that would fulfill me, and now I know it doesn't. For example, if you wait and you bypass those signs and those signals, you're going to at some point look back and go, damn, I should have done it back then, right? And that acceptance of mediocrity, or that acceptance of just, these are the beliefs I've been handed and I must keep them, is the stuff that keeps us small and keeps us from our purpose, which is the thing that Gerren and I really get fired up about talking about, because I believe we all have one.
Yes, we do.
You all out there have heard me say this. However, I believe most people either don't understand that, let alone work towards finding it, let alone find it and do something with it.
Yes, I agree. And I like to say we all have diamonds in our hands, but because we don't recognize they're diamonds, we think they're rocks and they're not valuable.
Or it's just the carbon that hasn't been pressed into the diamond yet.
Because oftentimes, like I used to play sports. I used to play sports when I was younger, and I definitely my main two sports were basketball and football. I also used basketball for this example. There was times I did a move and I didn't know, it wasn't a normal move I would normally do. And I'm like, where'd that come from? And so what I would have to do then is, okay, I have to go practice that move I just did that I made up on the fly, that was in me, that I didn't know was in me, that just came out in a situation. So oftentimes you need a situation to come out for what's in you to come out of you. But you have to embrace the hard. You have to embrace the thing that you're afraid to do. And once you could do that, then you realize so much more in you than what you think it is. There's so much in us, and And I would veer to venture to say most people fulfill their purpose when they're helping other people.
Yes. Well, and a lot of times I think that in general, we could just make the blanket statement that the purpose we have it does have some impact to other humans. It's more of just like a scale and a how. But you bring up such a good point in what you just said about the levels of hard. Everything becomes relative, both for ourselves and us compared to somebody else. And the perspective that we gain through challenging ourselves through hard things and not necessarily taking the easy road. Personal growth and the path to purpose isn't easy work. However, you become a more complete, amazing, impactful human when you do it. And that's where this idea of like purpose and perspective really do connect. And so it isn't about just like being productive or going through the motions, like you said. It's really taking that perspective we continually gain and doing something with it.
Yes, exactly. Oftentimes, more time, there's this Bible aspect that talks about ask, seek, knock. And so I'm going to go with the ask formula. So there's a thing you see that you want to do, and what the hardest part people want to get over. They don't know how, so instead of trying, they just go back to what they normally do, because it's like and then the hypothetical comes in. What if I fail? And my response is always, what if you don't? Because we've trained ourselves to think negative before we think positive.
Yep.
And so once you train yourself to think positive, then the negative goes away. Like, it'll work. No matter how long it takes, if I keep doing it, I know it'll work. And so first, when you want to do something more, you don't know how to do it. And we recycle things in our brain because we're so used to living one way, because we're habitual creatures and we do have habitual things. So we're like, oh, I want to do something else. I don't know how to do it. Oh well. You could put that thing to relationship. So now I got to start asking the right questions. So when I ask the right questions, I'm like, well, how do I do that? How do I get here? How can I do that? Who can I talk to? And those ask the right questions. Now, who can I talk to? Now I got to seek someone that can help me get to that path, or seek out information to put in my brain. And what happens is our brains are very interesting, because our brains will create neural pathways, which is the hard part. And so until it creates a neural pathway, it becomes really hard. And then once it creates a new pathway and understands a new pathway, now it becomes easy, because it becomes second nature. So now I'm seeking who I can find. And if I seek someone, then I knock. Now, here's where it comes to investing in yourself. Are you willing to invest money in you?
Are you willing to knock?
Yeah. That's the knocking aspect. So now I'm knocking and I'm willing to invest money. I'm knocking because I'm willing to invest in me, because if someone says, if I go here, it's going to cost me something, the cost is going to come into me. Now we can pay for a new car. We can pay for a new house. We can pay for clothes. We can pay for Spectrum, whatever cable thing. We can pay for everything that don't suit us, but can we pay for something that will suit us, but will put in the work? Because if you talk to any successful person, and you know it's to be true, that they've always invested in themselves. They've always invested in themselves.
Yeah.
I've spoken to a bunch of millionaires, and the first thing they said was mindset, which is fascinating. I was like, wait, that don't make sense to me. What do you mean mind? And everyone's saying the same thing. Mindset. I believe I could do it. So now I believe it. Now I'm asking about it. Then I'm seeking it. Now I'm knocking, and then I receive what I'm going after. And are we okay with the time lapse, the process of getting there? Because for some people, it might take a month. Some people might take 6 months. It might be a year. You can't compare yourself. You got to run your race. And the more you lean, the more you get more clarity and more vision, and you start taking away the distractions and the things that don't serve the vision, then it becomes very clear. So now that's where we get to the ask aspect. So
I feel like, Gerren, you just served up an Angie as a broken record on a silver platter here, because anybody that listens to this regularly has heard me talk about a bunch of things that you just tied together in a really, really compelling way. Because number one, we fear failure more than we fear anything else in society today. And it's gotten to be like to the point of debilitation, because people won't do anything unless they know it's perfect, that's perfect, or they feel like they're going to succeed. When ultimately failure, loosely translated, is a learning experience, because you don't end up with nothing, right?
Yep.
And the knocking on the door piece is the fact that humans are curious creatures. And the minute that we stop being curious is the minute that we stagnate.
Yes.
But But the problem is, on top of that, is in addition to this like unwillingness to be curious, we're more unwilling to be curious about ourselves.
Yes.
And how critical is that? Because then the third thing, I told you, you served up Angie's broken record on a silver platter. So I'm going to go on my diatribe.
Go ahead.
Because then the third thing is the abundance versus scarcity mindset. There's scientific proof that positive thinking actually does change outcomes.
Yes.
But you have to be, number 4, patient, because this stuff doesn't happen overnight, which brings me to number 5. And that is that ownership changes everything.
Yep.
And that is a choice, which is such the most important thing that I think brings all this together, in the fact that like you can choose your hard. Yes. Or you can choose easy. You can choose to invest in yourself. Not investing in yourself is also a choice. And that's what gets us stuck.
Yep. I'll give an example. Years ago, I wanted to play the guitar. I didn't know what that required, but I wanted to play it. And so what I did was I started playing the guitar, and I didn't know notes and all that stuff. I had to train my hands to move in a certain way. The strumming part was easier, but training my hands to move a certain way. Then I realized, as I was training my hands, pushing down on these strings against the wood would hurt. I didn't know that. Now I had an option. I could either stop playing or I can play through the pain.
And build a callus.
Build a callus. And so I had to play through the pain to build a callus to where I couldn't feel it. Now that was a gap of process that was painful and uncomfortable, but in order for me to play the guitar how I wanted to, I had to do it. Then I had to train my fingers into doing the different motions up and down and all this stuff. So I'm doing this, which looks weird when I have a guitar on me, but as
for those of you listening in podcast land, we're getting the motions here. Yeah, and yes, it looks as awkward as you think it does without a guitar in his hand.
Very awkward. And so, but now after they got callous, and after I taught my brain how to move my fingers, now I started playing music. Now here's the great thing. Once I started doing that, then I heard notes. So it was something that was always there, but I wasn't cognizant to, because I didn't create the frequency to hear the notes from other people. So now I just created a whole new avenue of listening and understanding something, all because I made one decision and went through the process of growing. It took me about a month and a half to really get callous. It took me about 2 months to really get good with playing a couple notes. It took me another 3 months to understand the rhythm of music. And so it took process and all that time. And when it all came together, I was playing the guitar, and now I can hear music, and now I can hear different sounds, and now I can hear all these different things. But I didn't know that before I made a decision to play.
And it all layered on, and your perspective each time changed. And so let's bring this back for everybody, because I love the storytelling aspect about it. And so let's bring it back to everybody out there. What do you see changes, or what have you experienced changes when you reconnect with why you're doing what you're doing?
Usually, well, when you reconnect people to inward, what's in you, just bring it out. And so when you do that, what ends up happening is you changing people's focus. So if you have we talked about scarcity and abundance before. If you have a scarcity mindset and you're always thinking scarcity, you always think there's not enough. And if I point you to something like, hey, there's abundance over there, now the person has to see it. And my job in pointing is to describe the abundance. I can't say abundance over there and walk away, but because that's sometimes challenging. I got to break the layers of people to show them that there's more over there than you think there is, but just keep walking. And then I go deeper. I'll tell them the process it takes to get there, so then they know what to expect as they're walking along. Because oftentimes we don't know what to expect, and sometimes the people that are trailblazers don't know what to expect. So because of that, we're just going through the thorns and the thistles and all this stuff. But when you know this stuff, you're like, hey, be careful of this. This is what's going to happen. This is what's going to happen. It's all part of the process. And so now I'm getting people to focus differently. Like I remember I was talking to someone recently at a wedding, and she talking about relationship stuff. And she said something like, she was a soccer player, and she said something like, it was hard. And I said, but you always do hard. You just have it focused on you just have it focused in different areas. Is the area that you didn't want to make hard is the part that you're making hard. But if hard is your normal aspect in all different things, then apply the same thing there. And she's just like, which now shifted the whole focus to be like, oh, if I could do these hards, then I can do that hard, because it's all hard.
Yeah. But it's funny. You bring up a good point because I have probably my husband Jim and I are two very good examples of the same.
Mhm.
I always feel like I can learn anything that requires my brain.
Yes.
Jim has all the confidence of the world of learning and doing extreme things that require your body. So when it comes to like outdoor adventure, that guy will assume any new sport in the outdoors. He will huck cliffs. He can, climb a bike up a hill faster than anybody that should be humanly possible, yet is not as inclined to take on new like knowledge or vocational projects, whereas I'm the opposite. So it's interesting to me how we tend to kind of be wired towards one way of hard,
Yeah.
but can't necessarily look at that and tie it into all aspects of life and work, even though it applies.
It's habitual.
Yes.
It's a habitual thing we always do because that hard, it's okay. I'll say it this way. It's you looking at his stuff and it's hard for you, but easy for him.
Right. And vice versa.
Vice versa. And so now the goal is to how do you measure in so you have a balance of both? And that's how we have to operate. We have to operate with understanding that there's a balance that, you know what? It's not that it's hard, it's just different. And in the beginning, it's always going to be challenging. It's always going to be challenging in the begining. Anytime you do something new, it's always going to be challenging.
It's something new.
It's like, it is what it is. No one gets away from that. Does it get easier? Yes, because you don't look at it when you're used to doing hard things, and you recognize as part of the process, you look past that point because you already know where you're getting to.
Yep.
It's destination traveling. It's like if you want to drive from where you live to where I live, you already have the destination in your mind, but you're not putting into account roadblocks, detours, traffic, bad weather. You're just thinking about destination, and it's on the way you discover those things, and you never once say, I don't want to deal with this traffic, I'm going home.
Yep.
But yet we do that in our mind.
You keep driving or you find a detour, right?
And if you have a GPS, the GPS will detour for you.
We have a GPS.
Yes.
We just don't listen to it.
Exactly. And so we do the same thing with ourselves. We find these certain detours where we live with, and then we just don't do it and it looks like it's not working. It's like sometimes the thing that's not working is working, and it's working on you as you're working towards the thing that you're trying to get to.
Yeah. So, side note, Gerren just perfectly gave us a commercial for Chapter 8 of Scary Good, Discovering Life Beyond the Sunday Scaries, which is all about do hard things because you build confidence through it, right? And it does ripple. So for me, I'm the opposite of Jim. I am not an endurance person, but I go out and do all of the things in the most averagest of way possible. But in, let's say going and mountain biking a new trail and cleaning something really, really difficult that scares me in my head, I take that confidence and I can ripple it into other things. And it does start to kind of like build each other. And so I love that you highlighted something that I have found in real time. So if that gives you any kind of validation that you didn't need, there it is. But here is the question. We have talked a lot about both mindset and doing the hard things. Do you think sometimes people hide behind one or the other to avoid the opposite? So for instance, do they hide behind I'm doing work on my mind to avoid taking action?
So now we're going into playing busy so you get nothing done.
Boo! Because the opposite of that can also be true, right? I'm going to continually, quote unquote, take action, which does not mean you're making moves. In order to avoid the mindset, right? So we can almost use one as an excuse to avoid the other. Do you see that?
Yes, that's very apparent. Like I've talked to people and I've done it myself. We've all done it to some degree, but I've talked to people where when they want to do something and they say, well, you needed this, they'll give me 5 reasons why they can't do it. Valid reasons, but vision simplifies everything. And so they'll say like, oh, I got to spend time with my husband this time. I can't do it then. Oh, I got to read this book. Oh, I'm doing this. Oh, I'm doing that. And so now it comes down to like, well, how are you planning your life? Are you using that as a reason not to do it, to say that you want to do it, but all these, and again, valid reasons I have not to do it so that I don't do the thing that I'm afraid to do. Because most of the time people
don't let a reason slip into an excuse because they are different.
But
it's really easy to allow one to become the other.
Yep, exactly. And they're valid reasons. And then they come into excuses why you don't do the thing you're supposed to do, which Sometimes high achievers do because they don't want it to not go to the next level. So how do you push yourself? And like me, I need a vision to like move forward. I need to see someone doing it, have it stuck in my mind to do it, create something to do it, have a project. Like I'm using it for example, I want to buy a new car. Okay, I need to make more money. How do I do that? Okay, there's a vision I create right there because I wanted something. Now I go figure out the thing to do so I can get the thing I want. So it's like how do you Jedi mind trick yourself for these Star Wars fans to get to the goal you want to get to? And it's all if you're okay with doing that or whatever the case may be, and I always say this, most of us have been failing all our lives, but we kept going.
Yep.
And we don't think about it that way because it gets to the point where we get. So when you're a kid, you didn't know how to walk. When you're a baby, you didn't know how to walk, and you were taught how to walk. Imagine after the first 2 times you fell, you said as a baby, "Nah, don't want to do it no more."
Mm-hmm.
So many of us want to be walking, or learning how to write, or this days type because no one writes these days, or learning how to read, or learning how to ride a bike, or learning how to drive a car, or learning what you do to do the job you do now. We all didn't know how to do the thing. So it's like we're capable of doing the thing, but we sometimes want that safety and security to do the next thing. But there's no safety and security in it, just like there's no safety and security in so many things we do. We just believe we can do it. That's our security.
Yeah. Wasn't it Disney? If you believe it, you can achieve it. But the big thing here is if humans never did something they didn't already know how to do, we'd still be cavemen living in a cave, probably with no fire, right? Yeah. And so this is the whole point. And the thing about failing, that is such a soapbox I get on because thank you, social media. It has just exacerbated it. But the thing about failing is you brought up a really good point. We don't tend to remember the failures. We remember the learning, the growth, and the stages and steps forward the failures brought us. And that's our memory bias that allows us to do hard things like run a marathon and then go friggin' run a marathon again. I don't know why you people would ever do that, but right. We have this memory bias that allows us to remember failures and hard times differently so that we're willing to experience them again, knowing it will get us further. But you have to be willing to engage that process if you want to be a more complete, impactful, purposeful human.
Yep, exactly. And also we live in confirmation bias. We all have confirmation bias.
Good Lord. Do you want to just take that aside and have another 3-hour show that would go on a political channel?
Right. So the challenge, confirmation bias is positive and negative. It can be positive and negative. Because if you're thinking positive, then you're going to find things that confirm what you're thinking. If you're thinking negative, then you're thinking all the things you can think negative, and you'll do the thing and the mind doesn't know. The mind knows what you tell it.
Yes.
And sometimes we don't realize that we control the mind and the mind control us. And so oftentimes we allow the mind to control us, then we control the mind.
I'm reading Think and Grow Rich right now for like the 12th time, which is, a feat in and of itself because it is the dry-assest amazing book ever. But basically the auto suggestion, right? You do have the ability to train your subconscious mind.
Yes.
If you allow it and don't let consciousness take over.
Yes. Because if we don't train our mind, it's our mind and body are symbiotic in a way where if you don't work out and just eat, you just gain weight. It is what it is. Like, so you have to work out or eat healthy to be in shape. Your mind's the same way. If you want it to be lazy, it will be lazy. It's like
your brain's a muscle, people.
Yeah. Tell me what you want to do and I'll do it. And I did this recently. There were certain things I wanted to stop doing. And one day I was like, I'm not gonna do it no more. I just decided it. I was like, I decided, that's it. And anytime that notion, the thing that I thought I used to do came up, I was like, and I wanted to do it, I would stop myself saying, nope, I'm not doing it again. And then I'm not doing it no more. It's that simple. I always say, it's nothing about easy, but it might be hard, but is it doable?
It's doable.
99% of the time, it's always doable. It's just, do you want to do it?
Do you choose to do it? So let's give everybody some advice out there. Because I love this conversation. I feel like you helped encapsulate everything that is No More Mondays into a lovely, succinct conversation that is a lot of like why we need to be doing it and some of the things that keep us stuck. So what are some practical actions somebody out there can take to feel like they're taking ownership or feel like they're moving themselves forward or to feel like they can actually entertain a little bit of hard? What are some actions and things that we can do?
So create a vision, take an assessment of where you are, and be honest. This is not like, it's just you. You're talking, you almost talk to yourself. You're writing it down. It's like looking in the mirror and just paying attention instead of just looking in the mirror to wash your face and make sure nothing on it. You're looking in the mirror and you're paying attention and you're just taking observation. You're not judging. You're not talking down to yourself. You're just saying, what do I need to fix? Yes. And this is no different than any businesses, when they see something leaking, they're like, okay, what do we need to, you're just looking at it objectively. What do we need to fix to make it better and more streamlined? What do I need to do? Take an honest assessment of everything. And then once you write down where there's 2 things, 3 things, 10 things, 15 things, it doesn't matter the number. You systematically attack them little by little. While the meantime, going after your vision little by little. So you're almost decreasing one and increasing another one. Now this, I'm going to be upfront. This is not an easy thing to do, but it's a doable thing to do. So I'm just going to repeat that again. And you have to be willing to do it. And it's all about, and then you got to embrace the challenge of the thing that you're doing. It's going to be challenging. It's a whole new different mindset shift. I think of someone, I was at a bank one time. I was in Florida, but I was in Maryland. I was in the bank and I was talking to my banker and she was just like, oh, you're in Florida. I'm like, yeah. How long have you been there? I'm like, oh, I just moved there not too long ago. What made you move? I just moved. I didn't know nobody. I just moved. I was like, I was praying. God told me to do it. Did it. And she was like, oh my gosh, I can never do that. I was like, why not? Should I be so scared? I'm like, what's the worst that could happen?
You move back.
And I was like, you move back, you get a similar job. You're in the bank. There's many banks here. And I said, what's the worst that could happen? And when I said that, it just sat there and hit with her like, dang, what's the worst that really could happen if I went after that thing? What's the worst going to happen? It's like, if you ever saw The Hangover when they were like, they were driving and they're shooting at all that stuff. And the guy was yelling and he was like, oh my gosh, we're getting shot at and we're getting this and we're getting that. And the guy was like, but did you die though? And it's a great way to look at it. You're not going to die. It's just, what's the worst that could happen? And that is probably not that bad.
But we as humans like to catastrophize things instead of actually looking and reverse engineering the worst case scenario into how likely is it even to happen and how bad is it if it does. And it is typically 99.8% of the time survivable and worth the risk. It's always worth the risk. You'll be glad you did once you did it. But you'll regret it if you don't. Yep. And I always say, and again, failing is a good thing. I always say I'd rather try and it not work and I learn something because it'll help me future on than never trying and then wonder if 15 years later. Yeah. And that's why mediocrity is expensive, y'all. I love this. This could go on and on and on and on and on. But I love the idea that like hard things won't kill us, right? Yeah. The Hangover, hard things won't kill us, but they will help us understand why we're doing what we're doing and what we should be doing. Look at yourself in the mirror, people. Pay attention and invest in yourself. So on that note, Gerren, if somebody wants to invest in themselves, how do they find you for support? Oh, you could find me on LinkedIn. You could find me with, search my name. You can find me on Instagram at Gerren Power. And those are 2 places you could probably find me. That's where I'm most, and I'm also on TikTok, Facebook, same tag. Yes, you can find me on there, reach out. We can set up a session and I would love to help anybody get out their own way, which is a great thing. Yes, because that is typically our biggest obstacle is ourselves. And Gerren and I are connected here on LinkedIn if that's where you're watching. And if you're out there in podcast land, be sure to track him down because this is good stuff, good, approachable perspective. And I'm going to put you on the spot with one more question as we wrap up. Sure. One of the things that we always talk about here is like how we humans are going to operate and thrive in the future. So as you think about like the future of work and life, what's it look like to you and how do we stay human while navigating it? It looks great. And I always say, be a kid. Like just have fun. It's going to be challenging. It's going to be like, I laugh at my own self all the time. I'll trip and have a funny, I was at church Saturday, and I was helping someone and they're like, the pastor came to me, go, hey, can you help me out with something? And I went to the step and I literally missed the step. Like, bam. I went straight first. I did a handstand there. Oh, you okay? I'm like, oh yeah, I planned that.
I just laughed at it. Like, it's okay to laugh at yourself. It's good, okay to be okay. It's okay to stumble. It's all part of the process. It's all part of the process. The goal is you get back up and just enjoy it. Just, it happened. It's like you're gonna live. And the one thing we tend to do in life is we're living in the present. We're always in the now. We're always living in the now moment. And the past already happened. And what we always tend to do sometimes is we try to pull the past in the present, which eliminates our future outlook.
Yep.
And so if you just realize the past happened and you let the past go, but then you look at the future and pull the future into your present, you'll get to where you're going.
And don't take yourself too seriously. You'll never get out alive.
Oh yeah, you won't. You won't. That like no matter how struggling I promise, no matter how tight it is, you always find a reason to laugh. You can always find a reason to be joyful. The fact that you woke up this morning means you still got another shot. You can be grateful that you rise. There are people that didn't wake up. You can look at the fact that you're walking. Some people can't walk. Always find a reason to be happy and gratitude about how life is. It can always be worse. If you're watching this, most likely you're not homeless. It might be tight, but you're not homeless. You have internet, you have a phone, you have the thing you're doing, you're still okay. You can always, and it can always be better, it can always be worse. You're always you're present and you're here for a reason. And the goal is to find your purpose and dig deep and go after the thing. You'll never regret going after the that's in you to go forward in life. You'll never regret it. I don't care if you're a divorce, I don't care if you've lost everything. If you keep moving forward, you will always get to where you're going if you don't give up.
And the best way to summarize that is if you follow that methodology and mindset, the future really will look great.
Yes.
I love it. Gerren Power, thank you so much for joining us and having an amazing conversation about mental barriers, beliefs, purpose, and what it really takes to move forward when you feel stuck. It actually is not as hard as you may think. How's that for a full circle moment? Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you.
Thank you all out there for listening and spending your Monday morning with us. If this conversation resonated with you, and I don't know how it didn't, listen to it again, share it with somebody else who needs to hear it, leave us a rating. It's a huge help as we continue to bring you important conversations about how to stay human in this wacky, amazing, futurist great world. And if you are ready to make a more intentional approach in your life and work, don't forget, check out my book, Scary Good, Discovering Life Beyond the Sunday Scaries. It is on a bookshelf near you and at scarygoodread.com. And until next time, here's to fewer Sunday scaries and no more